This is my 3D printer that I just barely got set up. I got power cable coming into this power box, and it plugs in there, and there's the USB connector going to my computer where I am running repetier host. I have no idea how to say that. Oh man, my camera sucks. And so I'm connected, as you can see by this green plug. That just means that the computer is successfully talking to the circuit board. And so I'm on the manual control tab. And whoa, man, my camera really sucks because it all just went red. I wonder if that's going to be in the final video. So these 4 cables go to the stepper motors. You got one for controlling the Z-axis, which is up and down. It's all arbitrarily named, but that's what they called it. I had to look in the manual that you download from their website to remind myself how to plug all that stuff in. There's like the Z-axis plugs into this part of the circuit board, etc. And so you got 4 motors, 3 for each of the axes, and one for controlling one for feeding plastic down into the extruder, which is cold right now because I'm not running any printer file, and I can manually tell it to do that somewhere in here. I'm actually not going to mess with that, but I know it works because I've almost printed some things before, but then my printer board screws up on, let's see, the Y-axis, which is coming back and forth. The first time I set this up, I started printing out a part, and then it got all messed up, and then I took it apart and started doing calibration runs, and I noticed that this printer base, which the part gets printed out on, was only moving in one direction no matter what I tried with this. And so I'm excited now because I just saw it going in both directions, which means possibly it wasn't the printer board, and maybe I can fix that. So I am going to record the fact that this works by doing some manual. So if I click this button right here, I can click it in different locations, and if I click it way out here, that'll say move the extruder -50 units in the X direction, and I'm not sure what the units are, but I'm going to do -1 because I know that it can handle that. If I tried to do a -50, then it would smash into this end because I don't have any end stops set up. So I am always very careful to make sure that my extruder has room to move in the direction that I'm telling it to move. So the -X direction is definitely working. And now I'm going to tell it to move 10 units in the +X direction. And another 10. And now I'm going to tell it to move -10. So all of that is working properly. Now, I believe Y positive. Well, I'm just going to do 1 just to test and see which direction it goes. So it moved the printer base to towards me when I did Y positive. So I'm going to try and do Y negative and just use it move it 1 unit. Okay, now I'm going to select -10 in the Y direction. And it's moving pretty good. So I'm going to get this cable out of the way. Gotta be careful when you're moving cables around. I need to come up with a more permanent solution because I just got a huge jumble of wiring around here. Alright, I'll do a couple more in the negative Y direction. Okay, now I'm gonna come up here and start going in the positive Y direction and see if it comes towards me again. And once again, you do not want this smashing into this. So that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. But all of those tests were successful. It was going in the Y direction in both directions, which it stopped doing before. So these two buttons control your Z axis. So positive should be moving the extruder up, which it does, of course, by turning this motor, which rotates this thing. And as this rotates, it's in, I forget what you call that, washer deal, threaded washer deal that's screwed into this board that whole assembly is attached to, and supported by linear bearings. So the whole thing is free to move up and down, and when this turns, it forces it to move up or pulls it down. Okay, I've been doing 0.1 just to make sure that I know which direction it's going, and it is indeed going up. So now I'm going to move it up 1 unit in the Z direction. You can stack up a whole lot of commands, so you don't want to sit here and button mash and be like, why isn't it going anywhere? Because you're going to get to the end of your thing, and this printer did not come with end stops. They recommend installing them before you get up and going, but they're pretty cheap. You buy them off of eBay or some electronics store, and an end stop is just a small component that you'd plug in right here on your printer board, and you'd install them like right here, for example, and it's just a little switch so that when your extruder gets up here, it makes contact and it closes the switch, which sends a signal to the printer board, which tells it, hey, I'm at my limits. You need to ignore whatever code is going on over here and being sent to the printer board and telling me to do this, because if I keep doing that, I'm going to break something. So it's a very good thing to have, and I highly recommend installing end stops. I will eventually. I actually might have some, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been working on these printer stuff. So, a couple of final tests. I'm going to move the extruder back down. Try and get a steady shot. The other thing you'll notice is we got a lot of, we got duct tape here, we got extra zip ties here. These zip ties came with the printer kit, as did these and several others. Here I've just got a hairband holding this end together. In the instructions, they tell you to super glue things together, but I opted for more removable solutions because I had to take stuff apart several times while I was troubleshooting this. And if I'd have superglued it, I would have been in trouble. I wouldn't have been able to take stuff apart and redo things that I'd messed up. The instructions are kind of hard to follow. You have to guess certain things, and I wish I had more concrete examples for that. I can't remember exactly why I took it apart for any specific reason. Oh, the wide motor I suspected might have been bad. As I was troubleshooting, I was thinking either this. Well, let's look at the circuit board. Here is where you connect the Y motor to the circuit board. This is actually a slightly different model than that circuit board. They haven't updated the manual to include the newest circuit boards. But I thought that this integrated circuit right here, which is a controller, which turns whatever this CPU is spitting out to these circuit boards, it goes into this controller, which gets translated into a signal that this, well, roughly speaking, it's just like sort of like a power gate for the motor. I can't remember. I did a lot of reading on it, and I thought that might be the cause of the problem, or the motor might be the cause of the problem, and now I'm wondering if it's a combination of things because it started working, or I'm running on a new Windows operating system. I upgraded to 10 since then. That might have something to do with it. You gotta install some drivers in order to get your USB even talking to the board. Maybe the drivers are working better with Windows 10. Who knows? That'd be a refreshing change from Windows 10 screwing up my other drivers. Okay, so this is well over 10 minutes, and I'm planning on posting this to YouTube, so I guess I better stop talking. Have a good day, people.